let's talk about directional fabric. Okay, so directional fabric talks about how you see the print and depending upon which way you turn the fabric or use it in your project. In some patterns it doesn't matter as much, in some patterns it does, and sometimes we care and sometimes we don't. So if you care about the directionality of your fabric in your projects, then this is a little short video that just explains the 4 types of directional fabrics that will impact the half rectangle triangle quilts made with the HuRTy, and specifically the ones that the patterns that use the HuRTy. So on the patterns, it's going to tell you what type of directional fabric can be used in the pattern easily. You can use the other ones, but usually it's not going to be very efficient use of fabric, or you have to take extra steps to really be concerned about which piece goes where, especially if your pattern includes both vertical and horizontal half rectangle triangles. Okay, so the 4 types of directional fabric that we're concerned about are one-way prints, two-way prints, four-way prints, and what's called a tossed print. And I'm going to explain a little bit about from the selection of fabric I have here and about some ways that you can use it. So one directional prints are just that. They're fabrics that literally you can read or see the images in the right orientation with just one image. Most text prints are one-way prints. You can read the text unless like every other line is upside down, or the designer did something to where they're not all being read in the same orientation. So these particular 2 prints are definitely one-way prints. Some images, if you can just see it in one orientation, then it is a one-directional print. So that means if I turn it upside down, that image is upside down. If I turn it to the side, the image is to the side. So these are one-directional prints. Two-directional prints are actually pretty useful with dealing with most or a lot of the different HuRTy patterns that you'll see. Two-directional prints are instead, if you rotate them 180 degrees, then they read the same. And usually the motif is upside down, like on this Lizzie House print here, or also this print here as well. So some of the tapes, you can read them in this orientation or you can see them. And then if you rotate it 180 degrees, the other ones you can read in the same orientation. So this is considered a two-way print. Stripes are also considered a two-way print. So this way or that way, it doesn't matter what orientation. And in a lot of HuRTy patterns, half rectangle triangle patterns, two-way works really well. So the other side quilt is an excellent example. Another quilt that can use the two-way prints is the Mood Forever quilt pattern as well. So that's two-way. Now four-way gives you even more flexibility. So a four-way print means that if you turn it 90 degrees and keep turning it 90 degrees, then it reads the same. So a four-way print is great because with a four-way print, you can turn that half rectangle triangle vertically or horizontally, and it pretty much is the print is going to read the same. So this is a four-way print. A lot of like a dot that's laid out in this particular layout. I forget what this repeat pattern is called, but that would definitely be considered a four-way print. This is also a four-way print. So if you put it on the diagonal, it's going to read different. But if you turn it at 90-degree angles, then it's going to read the same. The same thing with that dot. If you put it on the angle, the dot pattern is going to be different. But 90 degrees, it's going to read the same. Toss print is your friend. And a toss print means it really doesn't matter how you look at it. You're going to still see pretty much the same pattern. So I believe both of these are tossed. I'd have to really look at the repeats to see, but I would consider this a tossed pattern. So it doesn't matter how we look at that pattern. And most of the tossed prints, the motifs are literally tossed in all the different directions. So no matter how you look at them, they're going to read the same. Okay, So then I pulled these other two, and I had a little time classifying them. Actually, I can classify. This I would consider a two-way print that I would personally be okay using as a four-way print. So technically it's a two-way print because I would say two-way print because most of your vertical stripes are closer together than your horizontal stripes. So they look a little different when you just turn it 90 degrees. So the vertical stripes are a little bit closer together than the horizontal stripes. I believe that's the vertical and horizontal for this pattern, but you get what I mean. In one direction, it's a little bit wider than the other. But I would be okay with using this as a four-way print. So you'll find some quilt patterns that are very similar to this. This is actually a one-way print that I would be okay using as a two or a four-way print. So this particular motif here is a four-way motif. This motif here, the little tiny, I guess, grass shape here, is a one-way motif. But when you step back and look at this in the greater scheme of things, I would be okay if this appeared in a quilt and that fabric were turned in 4 different directions, because the motif that really pops out is definitely a 4-way motif. So there's definitely some variations in how fabric can be viewed. You can make some decisions. Some of you will not care whether your sunglasses are upside down inside of your print, your quilt, and sort of is thrown every which way, and some of you will. We will, over time, I'll release some other videos that talk a little bit more about dealing with certain kinds of fabric with the HuRTy and how to cut things out. But for now, I think this is enough to give you a good basis for understand directionality in fabric. So check out the back of your patterns. For the first 3 will definitely give you an indication of directionality that works best, or the most efficient use of fabric with the existing HuRTy patterns, and I plan on using that, or definitely referencing that on future HuRTy patterns as well. And that is your little quick lesson in directionality. Thank you.